Okay, so today we're in section 9.3, cube roots. Cube roots. So this section is very similar to section 9.1, which was square roots, right? You guys remember square roots? A number that can be multiplied by itself 2 times to equal another number. So today with cube roots, you're going to see a lot of similarities. All right, so in 9.1, you learned that squaring a number and finding the square root of a number are opposite operations. They cancel each other out. So today you're going to learn that cubing a number and finding the cube root of a number undo each other. Do you see how those are similar? Do you see how those are similar? Okay, good. All right, so here are the perfect cubes that you need to have memorized. All right, you need to write them down. 1, 8, 27, 64, 125, 216, 343, 512, 729, and 1000. All right, go ahead and write those down for me. We have the perfect cubes. Now let's look at the cubed root. Okay, so the cube root of 1, what do you guys think it is? It's going to be 1. What about the cube root of 8?
2.
The next number, 2. Okay, so what does that mean? That means 2 times 2 times 2 gives me 8. That's why 2 is the cube root. All right, so now let's look at the next cube root. 27. What do you think it's going to be, guys? 3. Isn't that true? 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, what about 64? What do you guys think? 4. What about 125? 5. So it's probably a good idea for you guys to write the root values. All right, 8, 9, and 10. So you're going to have 2 choices on your quiz and your test for this section. One is to have these perfect cubes memorized. The other choice is to do it by hand. Okay? And that takes a lot longer. So the motivation is there, right? If you memorize it, it's less work for you, which that's a good thing. All right, so now I'm actually going to have you flip to the homework section of your notes. So go ahead and flip to the back side on the next page, and we're going to practice upside down division again, okay? So this method is in place if you don't know what the square root or the cube root is. All right, so we're going to back up and we're going to start with square root. We're going to start with square root. What I am finding today is that a lot of students are rusty with basic division. I'm talking like 17 divided by 2. Okay, how many times would 2 go into 17 without going over? All right, okay, so you have got to brush up on those skills. You will not have a calculator. All right, so let's start off with the first number, 324. Is this number divisible by 2? How do you know that it's divisible by 2? Yeah, the last digit is even, okay? So 2 goes into 3 how many times without going over? 1 time. With how many left over? 1. So now carry your leftovers to the next digit. Okay? So 2 goes into 12 how many times? 6. Does it go evenly? Are there any leftovers? No. So now just divide it straight into the last digit. 2 goes into 4 how many times? 2. Okay? Now let's do it again. All right, I want you guys to try the next one. Try to get to the next step. All right, 2 goes into 16 how many times? 8. With how many left over? So 2 goes into 2 how many times? 1. All right, now is 81 divisible by 2? So now go to the next smallest prime number, which is 3. Is 81 divisible by 3? How do you know? Nope. Add your digits. Add your digits. What is 8 plus 1? 9. Is 9 divisible by 3? So 81 is divisible by 3. 3 goes into 8 how many times? Twice, with how many left over? 2, because 3 times 2 is 6, and 8 minus 6 is 2. So I carry the 2 over. Now 3 goes into 21 how many times? 7. Okay? All right, so now keep dividing. Now the numbers are getting small enough that I kind of know where I'm headed, right? 3 goes into 27 how many times? 9. Okay? 3 goes into 9 how many times? 3. Okay? Anybody remember the next step now?
Circle all your pairs.
Circle your pairs. I got a pair of 2s. I got a pair of 3s. And I've got one more pair of 3s. So now for each group, I write each pair one time. So I have one group of 2s, so I write 1, 2 times 3 times 3. What is 2 times 3? 6. What is 6 times 3? 18. 18 is the square root of 324. Okay? 3 is not divisible. How do I know? Add your digits. What's 6 plus 2? 8. What's 8 plus 5? 13. Is 3 divisible by 13? 13? No. So go to 5. How do you know that 5 is divisible by 625? How do you know? Because it ends in a 5 or a 0. That's your rule. Okay, now guys, I am counting on you remembering that rule from back in your elementary days when you learned multiples and factors and all of that. Okay? All right, so 5 goes into 6 how many times? 1 time, with how many left over? 1 left over. Okay? Now the next one, 5 goes into 12 how many times? Twice, with how many left over? 2. So carry the 2 over to the 5. When you use this method, it stays simple. It stays, with just your small math instead of having to divide really large numbers. Okay, so 125. 5 goes into 125. 5 goes into 12 how many times?
5.
With how many left over? 2. All right, and then we get a 5 and another 5. How do I know I'm done with the division?
You went to a number that you came to.
Yes, because my bottom number is a prime number. So now, how many groups do I have? 2. Group of 5s and a group of 5s. What is 5 times 5? 25. So 25 is the square root of 625. It does get faster the sharper you are with your division skills. This can be fast. Now, if I were to give you the square root of 625 on your homework tonight, mind you, you can't use your calculators. You say, well, how are you going to know if I use my calculator? I'm not, but I'm going to know next Friday when I ask you to do the root and you don't know how because you cheated on your homework and used your calculator, okay? So use the homework to practice the way I'm asking you to, okay? Now, with that being said, what if I asked you the square root of 625 and you just remembered you had it memorized because you had already done it? That's fine. Because when you take your quiz next Friday and you don't have a calculator with you, if you remember it, that's fine. But if you don't remember it, what's your backup?
Upside down.
The upside down division. That's your backup. I want you to have as many of these memorized as you can. But if you don't have it memorized, you have to have a backup. All right, we're going to do one more. This one is the cubed root. Okay? It is done the exact same way, except now you need a group of 3 prime numbers to make a set. All right? Okay, here we go. This is the only one we're going to do, and then we're going to move on. Yes, you do. Okay? You don't have homework tomorrow.
I mean, you wanted to move the quiz.
Well, you would have had the homework assignment either way. Okay? All right. What is the smallest prime number that I can divide by? 2. 2 goes into 17 how many times? Please stop. With how many left over? 1 left over. 2 goes into 12 how many times? 6. With how many left over? None. So now divide 2 into 8. 4. Are you guys catching on to the division? It's basic division. That's what upside down division does for us. It breaks it down to something that we can do mental math. All right. Does 2 go into 864? Yes. All right. Do it. Go ahead and divide. Like I said, this is the last one. We're not going to do the 4096.
After all these different numbers, because I'm not getting
What be different numbers?
the prime numbers.
The prime numbers don't change. 2, 3, 5, 7.
Yeah, but like in this equation, my prime number is still 6.
What did you divide by?
I wouldn't have to.
You need to start with the smallest prime number. If you start with a random prime number, it's harder to group them.
Yeah, I'm still using 2, and the problem got real.
Okay, 2, then you probably made a mistake. 2 goes into 8 how many times? 4. 2 goes into 6 how many times? 3. And 2 goes into 4. 2 times. Okay? All right, so now let's divide again. 2 goes into 4 how many times? 2. Okay? Evenly. So 2 goes into 3 how many times? 1. With how many left over? 1. So 2 goes into 12 how many times? 6. All right, now here's where you probably messed up. 2. Yes. 2, watch this, guys. 2 goes into 2 how many times? 1. 2 goes into 1 how many times? 0. Carry the 1. 2 goes into, Because 2 goes into 1, nothing. No times. Okay? So now when you carry the 1, 2 goes into 16 how many times? 8. Okay? So it's 108. I had several students today say 18. They didn't have a 0. But guys, half of 216 cannot be 18. Think about it. Okay? Half of 216 can't be 18. You got to have a placeholder in there. Now let's divide again. 54. Okay, half of 10 is 5. Half of 8 is 4. Keep going. Keep going. 2 goes into 5 how many times? 2 times with how many left over? 1. And then I get a 7. 2 goes into 14 7 times. Now this number looks familiar. Yes. 3, 9, and then 3 again. For cube root, how many do I need to make a set? 3. 1 set of 2s, 2 sets of 2s, 1 set of 3s. 2 times 2 times 3. All right, what's 2 times 2? What's 4 times 3? 12. Okay? On this section of your quiz, I'm going to say, tell me the square root or tell me the cubed root. If you don't have it memorized, you will do the upside down division. Okay, you're going to have questions on your homework that you do not have to show work for. Those are these. These you need to have memorized, okay? The cubed root of 8. I am looking for, if it's the cubed root, I am looking for a number times itself 3 times. What number can be multiplied by itself 3 times? 2 times 2 times 2. So the cubed root of 8 is 2, okay? This number can be multiplied by itself 3 times to equal 8. All right, what about number 2? All right, what do you think? Yes, -3. That number could be multiplied by itself, right? I could say -3 times -3 times -3. It's the same thing. So the cubed root is -3. What do you guys think about number 3? You guys think about number 3? Okay, so you've got to be careful, right? Because 64 is a unique number. Is it a perfect square? Yeah. The square root of 64 is what? 8. The cubed root of 64 is, don't think about it that way. All right, it's 4. So the cubed root of 1, that's pretty simple. And then the cubed root of 64 is 4. 4 times 4 times 4 equals 64. All right, this section will be virtually non-existent on your quiz and your test, okay? It's going to build into this. This is what's on your quiz. You have to use the cube roots to do some kind of an operation, all right? So what operation is in between the 2 and the cube root? If there's nothing there, y'all talk to me. If there's nothing there, what's there? Multiplication. So this is 2 times, what is the cubed root of -216? What's the cube root? -6. So 2 times -6 is what? What's 2 times -6? -12. All right, these are the types of questions that you guys are going to see on your quiz and your test. All right, I want everybody to just look at the next problem. Don't say anything. The next one, yeah. Don't say anything yet. All right, somebody raise your hand and tell me, what do you notice about this next problem? All right, you either are going to notice the easy way to do it or the hard way to do it. I would prefer the easy. You notice something? You. Skylar? Uh-huh. Okay, there is an exponent. What do you notice about the root? Okay, at the beginning of the lesson, we said that the cubed root and raising a number to the 3rd power, those operations cancel each other out. So you don't have to take the cube root of 125 and then turn around and cube it. If you recognize that, these operations cancel each other out. Your answer is the base value, 125. There's no work to do if you catch the shortcut. Okay? There's no work. If you don't catch it, you're going to be doing more work. It's going to take you longer. Okay? Shortcuts save you time. They save you hassle. All right? So we've got to move on to equations because we only have about 5 minutes left.
So we're not doing homework in class?
No. All right. What did we just say is the inverse operation of the exponent 3? What did we just say? Taking the what? Cube root. All right. Is this the cube root? Is that the cube root?
No.
No. What am I missing? I'm missing my 3. My cube root. That's telling me the cube root. Now these operations offset each other and I have x by itself. That's what I want. But if I take the cube root on one side I have to take it on the other side. What's the cubed root of 216? It's 6. Now here's the bummer. If you don't have that memorized when it comes time for your test, you got to come over here to the side and do your upside down division. Okay? If you have 216 memorized, you know the answer. Okay? There's 2 ways to get your cube root. Have it memorized or do your upside down division. Okay, next problem. How do I get a fraction to cancel out? This is review. Okay, I don't add it. It's being multiplied by the variable. Okay? If I divide a fraction, what ends up happening?
You gotta invert it or flip it.
All right, KFC. KFC. Keep, flip, change. Flip the fraction and multiply. Okay? Flip the fraction and multiply. So now these all cancel. They all cross reduce. So my answer is 2, right? Is my answer 2? What do I have to do to the other side? Not yet.
You have to do the same thing.
Yes. If I multiplied the left side by -4, I have to multiply the right side by -4 too. Now bring it down. N to the 3rd power equals, what's 2 times -4? -8. Now I'm ready to get rid of my exponent. What operation will get rid of my exponent? The cube root. Yep. Do that cube root because it's the opposite. N equals close. -2. All right. Any questions? Any questions? All right. So that's going to be everything that you need to do your homework tonight. All right. So that's it for 9.3.